Every step, every delay, every decision, you're carrying something. But what if it's time to let go? What if purpose isn't found, but formed? With every step you take forward.
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, so good to see you, Sidi. It's been too
Yes,
long.
sir.
It's been too long.
It's been long. And, we're definitely behind. For those of you, we're on the 22nd night. So we should be reading the 22nd juz. But I think we're still back in the in the 21st juz. So not too far behind, but we may need to do,
not too far behind. And so tonight's portion would normally take us into at least a little bit into Surah Yasin, the 22nd portion. But we're going to go back and we're going to start. I think we'll start in the beginning of Surah Al-Rum, right? The Surah of Rome, inshallah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Byzantines.
Okay, very good. So before we plunge in, we just want to, in these final blessed nights of Ramadan, we want to thank everyone for being with us, whether you're here in real time or whether you're joining us at other times. And
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alif Lam Mim. So Ar-Rum, the Byzantines, again begins with these broken letters, the same ones that are in the opening surahs. غُلِبَتِ الرُّوم. Can I say something about the broken letters?
Yeah.
There's lots of different suggestions on what these might mean. Academics make their own suggestions, and the exegetical tradition of tafsir and Muslim interpretation, they offer their own suggestions, and a variety of them. But one of them, a mystical kind of, since you hear the sound, you notice it goes from deep out to the tip. So the three letters alif, the hamza is down here in the makhraj, the pronunciation. And then, so the first is, you'll hear and see the translation, you'll see these three letters, there are different ones that are used, but these three with which the Quran opens and that are repeated here in some subsequent surahs, it's so alif, lam, you see A-L-M, alif, lam, mim. And one, it begins from deep down,
Alif, lam, mim.
So it's coming from inside out to the world. And if you remember, this is a scripture that God revealed on the Prophet's heart, and it kind of emerges. Perhaps this is one way to look at it. It's not exclusive, and this is not agreed upon, and there are others. But
it's a beautiful way of thinking. And of course, we just read that ayah that talked about how the Quran was sent down upon the Prophet's heart.
Ala qalbik, yes.
Yes. And then from there, he recited it, right?
Yes.
But it was wow.
That's how it emerges. But nobody really knows. And so there's a saying attributed to Ibn Abbas, one of the companions, who's also, a number of narrations come from him, that it really is a truncation of Ana Allahu A'lam, the same idea. Ana, the first, Allah, the lam is in the middle, A'lam, the meme is at the end. So you see this as well transcribed in transmitted in the tafsir, and there are others, and ultimately because we don't know,
meaning God knows best.
Yeah, Ana Allahu A'lam. Yes, I God know best.
Yes.
But because we don't know, there's just in reciting letters that you don't know what they mean, but out of reverence, is already beginning with an act of submission. That this has come from God. And I'll say one thing that might be might sound weird to some people, but my brother, he's really into, mythology and Eastern traditions, and he said Alif Lam Mim sounds a lot like Om. The primordial.
Mim. Yeah, the tone and the tone Alif Lam Mim. Yeah, it has a
something like that. And so,
and this is something we talked about a little bit when Ustada Tahira was with us, and that is one of the things that we miss. Although I know you take great joy in this, and so sometimes you highlight the rhyming quality and the sonic quality of the Arabic. But it is a thing, right? The idea that the sonic experience of hearing the Quran in recitation itself is a healing. Itself is a powerful and stirring healing experience. And so we're doing this mostly in English, and that's so what we're doing isn't in any way wrong. It's just that it's we'll never be able to capture the fullness of the Quranic experience in any one of those ways. And so it's it's just the Quran, the province of Ontario in Canada has this great motto that they put on their license plates. It says, "Ontario, yours to discover." And so I think for Muslims, we should make this a motto for Muslims, that Islam is like yours to discover, and the Quran, right, is yours to discover. And so there's so much here that can and should be discovered, and so many insights that no one has ever conceived of yet or articulated yet. So even after 1,400 years or more, we're not finished, right? We're not finished with this book, and that's encouraging to those of us who feel that we're just scratching the surface. But this is an opportunity to befriend the Quran and to get familiar with the Quran, to get to know it to the extent that we're able, and to really use these nights, these blessed nights of Ramadan, as an invitation and an opportunity to befriend this incredible text.
Yeah. All right. Well, there go our first 10 minutes on Alif Lam Mim. No, it's not you. It was me. I did. That was unintentional, but it just I felt like going there as they were recited. Ghulibatir Rum. So this, this surah on the Byzantines. There's a number of elements here, and I'm going to allow myself to get a little polemical. So you stop me, Dr. Timothy, because I almost feel like it's a critique of modern, materialist Western civilization in many ways, but it's engaging that on a number of levels. And at first, at the level of prophecy, is situated in the time of the Prophet. And so, Ghulibatir Rum, the Byzantines have been defeated, and this refers to historical events that were taking place at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the Sasanians and the Byzantines, the two great empires flanking the Arabian Peninsula, were competing with each other for domination. Right. And in one battle, the Byzantines had been defeated in a land close by, fi adna al-ard, wa hum min ba'di ghalabihim sayaglibun. But after this defeat, it'll reverse into victory. So there's a prophecy that was made within the Prophet's time. And then in the tradition, we're told that Abu Bakr, he made a bet that the fortunes will reverse, and fi bid'i sinin, so within a few years. And then there was, the Prophet was found out, and he said, "How many years did you say?" And he said, "No, bid that refers to between this and this number." And so amend the bet, and he amended it, and ultimately the Byzantines, the fortunes were reversed, and the prophecy came true in their lifetime. Within a few years, with God is in command, first and last. On that day, the believers will rejoice. And so there's a natural solidarity that is being expressed here between the believers the nascent community that's following the Prophet Muhammad, and the Byzantines, whose revelations are affirmed in the Quran. And so that solidarity here is expressed. Binasrillah, at God's help. So they rejoice at God's help. He helps whomever he pleases. He is mighty and merciful. Now here, this is God's promise. He never breaks his promise that he helps those who are righteous, but most people do not know. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Now this is, they only know the outer surface of this present life.
Yeah.
And this to me is an indication of, when you become overly materialistic. And thank you. I needed some water. And so I don't know what you feel about reading it this way, but the critique of a civilization that, and this is critiquing all of us, it's not specifically referring to the Byzantines or to the West, but I just find that a number of these things, and we'll see a few more that will come, that are in this surah on the Byzantines. And here's the first one. When, people who do not know are people who just focus on the outer things of this world, but they fail to grasp inner realities, and they don't realize the end, but of the end of things they are heedless, like the final purpose, the final cause, as it's sometimes referred to in philosophy. And then the next verse is أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ.
Yeah.
Have they not thought about their own selves? Do they not reflect of their own, the inner world? And that's where, there's a truth there. But we dismiss it as subjectivity, as not real, as just, our own kind of subjective imagination that's particular to every individual, but has no real reality. But I feel the Quran is telling us, no, there is a real reality there. And that is what makes, helps us understand the whole picture. But if we say, if we bracket what's inside, and ultimately the inner eye, we close it, and we just have one eye open that's to the outer world, we're going to be lost, and we'll lose sight of the ends of things.
And this lesson is being taught in a whole variety of ways. And remember, when we were in Surah Al-Kahf, the Surah of the cave, and we are following Moses through his journey, Musa through his journey of initiation with the spirit, with his teacher, with the spiritual teacher, and even Musa, like the best of humankind, the one who talked directly to God, was guilty of judging things from their outer appearances, meaning from limited knowledge. And the lesson there was that there's a whole narrative underneath the surface that can only be seen if God gives us access to that. And so when we're judging things according to the external facts and what the observable facts, that we should be mindful that there's a whole nother dimension of reality. There's a whole larger narrative that we don't have access to. And so I think that peoples of faith and peoples of no faith are probably equally guilty of falling into the trap. We're all guilty of falling into the trap of just judging things that we see. And so as you pointed out before, that it's not just these civilizations that are judging things from the externals, or from it's something that is a human pitfall that the Quran is trying to tell us not to fall into.
Yeah, and you can see, the three. That's nice. Appreciate that. Elaboration. And then the three levels of signs. So there's the signs of God in the world of nature. ظاهرا من الحياة الدنيا. These are ayats, right? but don't restrict the ayat. Then there's the ayat in our own inner world, right, within ourselves. And then there are ayat in history, and that's the next verse. أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. So have they not traveled through the land and see how their predecessors met their end? So many civilizations just come and go. They were mightier than them. They cultivated the earth more and built more upon it. And I suppose they were looking at ruins, amazing kind of dwellings inside, built inside caves and in stone.
Like the Nabatean ruins in the Jordanian desert. What is today the Jordanian desert?
Yeah, and even then, Petra, and then they would see even the Egyptian pyramids. I mean, even today we can't think of how to build something like that, but they built it, and they were like how great they were. Today, I feel we will say that, well, we've surpassed all of that in some ways, in new ways, right? But in some ways, maybe still not so. And even if we have, it might be a house of cards. A small digression, just by way of illustration. Have you seen Gravity? Sandra Bullock.
No.
Oh, you must see that movie. George Clooney. So they're in space. I'm going to give the spoilers here. So if any of you are listening and you want to watch it without spoilers, it's an old film now. Well, old, maybe 10 years ago.
I may have seen the very end of it, actually. Yes. Okay. So I remember like seeing Sandra Bullock floating in space or something. And yes. Okay.
So they, it begins with this. We're in total control. They're like flying around the space shuttle and joking, and that's like modernity. And Sheikh Hamza asked me this, so I basically Sheikh Hamza is the one who offered this interpretation to me. And I just watched the movie and I was entertained by it. I didn't really give it much thought, but he's like, "That's an incredible film, and this is what it means." And then suddenly, the one satellite goes and this sets up a chain reaction, right? And it completely sends them, destroys them, send them spilling, and they're hurling and they have no control. And he says, this is the reality of the modern world, is we think we're in control, but we're completely untethered. And long story short, she ends up, ultimately turning to religion in her moments of greatest despair. And the final moments of the film is when she lands on Earth, and her capsule, she survives, the lone survivor, in water, and steps out of the water like the first human being, and is grounded on the earth, and that's where she feels, most secure, with, having turned to, it was the Buddha in that case, but speaking about all the things that we've lost, and so this idea that, we are completely, we think we've built something that is greater than anything before, but really it could be a house of cards. And you have one pandemic and the supply chain kind of breaks, and this wasn't even that disruptive, and suddenly you can see how the shelves on the store are empty. And if that happens at the level of a far greater at a much greater level, we could be in a lot of trouble, but we think we're secure. And so I think from that point of view, these verses still apply, but right now we don't feel it because it hasn't happened. We feel like everything's hunky-dory.
No, I think that's a really powerful and very contemporary way of thinking about this lesson, but I think it's absolutely true. You go to some of these some of our modern contemporary cities in the world, and they're beautiful, and the structures are just incredible, and when we go to Washington DC, even we see the almost like it's kind of neoclassical architecture, and it's massive, and it's reminiscent really of going to Aswan, Egypt, and seeing Abu Simbel, these giant statues of Ramses, that's like, looking toward Nubia, letting the Nubians know that, that they're entering like a land of giants as they come up the Nile, or come down the Nile, the way that works. But yeah, no, it's history has shown us that even Rome in all of its power and all of its might fell, and Babylon, ancient Egypt. I mean, it just goes on and on. These incredible civilizations that are no more, and so what are we supposed to hear then? We're supposed to hear that we should not be so arrogant. We should not be so confident in what we build, and we should be hearkening to these voices, these prophetic voices in the wilderness, calling us to something more permanent and more enduring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And already you can see with with some of these fires that move at hurricane speed winds. We saw it just recently in LA, and before that in Hawaii, or suddenly everything's wiped out, right? Or if you have a massive hurricane and flooding, and you lose power, like nothing functions anymore.
Yeah.
So very quickly it can, and we already see pockets of this where what we've built and we think is so magnificent, we see that we're really a lot more precarious than we thought we were.
Yeah, and even with the recent tornadoes in the U.S., right? We're just, it's these are forces that go way beyond anything that we can shield ourselves from, and
Right.
And they kind of bring us back to a kind of appropriate insecurity. That is, that we don't place maybe so much confidence and so much store in what we build.
Yeah, and then building on these signs, if we look at verse 20, there's a whole string of verses that begin وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, that from among his signs, from among his sign, from among his signs, as if pulling us back. And it's just a beautiful sequence. And of his signs, among his signs, is that he created you. This is verse 20. He created you, and lo and behold, you became human beings, scattered far and wide.
Mm-hmm.
And another of his signs is that he created spouses from among yourselves, or mates from among yourselves, for you to live with in tranquility. He ordained love and kindness between you. And so truly there are signs for those who reflect. And when we think of final cause, in some traditions and philosophies, they say, well, the final cause is procreation, right? And then they kind of develop a whole series of policies and based on that. But what if the final cause is not procreation, but actually the love, companionship? Changes your perspective on how you would think of society. And so I just love this, this sequence. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And so you have from coming into being to mates from amongst yourselves, to the alternation of the خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَاخْتِلَافِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُم, the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the variation in your languages and
colors,
your hues, your colors, basically racial.
Yeah,
it's a sign of God. It's not a punishment. It's not a valuation. It's one of God's signs.
And beautifully, there's no hierarchy of colors when it comes to the alwan of humankind. That the colors of humankind are understood to be this miraculous, sign, and so there's no place here for any kind of ethnic supremacism.
Yeah.
Mm.
And and among the signs is your sleep by night
Yeah.
and by day. I mean, I just paused on this and thought, there you just drop and you're out. What an interesting. It's such a, if you stop to think about it, like you're this functioning human being, you've got all these cares and concerns and duties, and then you just stop and you're out for 8 hours or 6 hours, whatever. Sometimes during the day you need a couple of hours.
Mm.
What is that telling us, right, about ourselves? And then there's among his signs, there's the sleep and the quest that you make for livelihood out of his bounty. I mean, we have to go out and seek and look for provision.
Yeah.
Right? We're so dependent, and we have to arrange our affairs, and then we just go out and we sleep, and then we wake up. I mean, I don't know. What do you think is happening here?
No, I think it's kind of awakening us to the miraculous nature of everyday life.
Mm.
It's there's something human about needing to produce. There's something. It's a necessity. We can't just sit in a cave and expect food to be brought to us and our provisions to be brought to us. But it's almost as if the Quran is awakening us to the miraculous nature of everyday, of just being human, being alive, and even sleep becomes a sign, as you said, and the need to go out, right?
Mm.
To find, I'm just now, talking with some younger people whose names won't be identified for reasons of confidentiality, but their life is still ahead of them, and their life is they don't know what it is that they're going to do. They don't know where they're going to be doing it. That this life is like a great adventure, a video game that they need to start going out into the world to find, not just to find work, but to find themselves. And so there's this process of discovery is it's something that we as humans not only do we crave it, but we're forced to go out and to find our destiny really in the wider world.
Yeah. And the sign versus keep going. So
yeah. And one thing that I noticed even just before this suite of verses, and it's going to come again and again and again, is this confirmation and affirmation of God's ability to create a new creation, God's ability to bring life out of death. This is going to come in these Meccan surahs in particular. It's going to be coming again and again and again, and so this is something that even here, before we started these verses, and now in ayah 27.
In a city shaped by water and wind, answers arrive like waves, quiet at first, then undeniable. When one finds you, move with it, stay steady, and let it carry you farther than you planned.